This is the one we've all been waiting for. We finally have our first information about the tank rework coming to Hell Let Loose. And this all came through a dev brief from today. So let's break it down. I'll give you my opinion as I go here because there's a lot of good things in here, a lot of things to be excited about. But I also do have a lot of concerns, so we'll talk about it as we go through. They start off by saying, in reworking the armor class, we set out to deliver a more balanced and immersive tank experience. The changes include a refined tank profile system, improved overall balancing, the brand new Tinkerer loadout, and a deeper immersion for every member of the tank squad. And the first part is about tank balancing, stating the first major element of this rework is a comprehensive overhaul of tank balancing. To enhance the immersion, gameplay variety, strategic decision-making, every tank in Update 18 has undergone an individual stat rework and balance pass. Our aims with these changes are to emphasize the unique performance characteristics of each tank, encourage strategic diversity, and highlight faction-based asymmetry, reflecting the nature of real-world historical warfare, reinforce the role of tanks as powerful, game-changing tools suited to a wide range of battlefield scenarios, and improve the viability of medium and light tanks, increasing the relevance and usage during matches. This change will complement the upcoming heavy tank limitations, which will be covered later in this brief. The aim of these changes is to create a clear, more strategic comparison between tanks by emphasizing their unique strengths and weaknesses. This system encourages players to consider a tank-specific combat role and capabilities, promoting more varied and tactical gameplay. By breaking down stats, for example, into 3 distinct adjustable stat groups, we can better balance the tanks and provide players with meaningful choices based on their preferred playstyle and battlefield needs. One of these stat groups focuses on a tank's offensive capabilities. Each tank will now have specific stats assigned to its weapons, including muzzle velocity, shell drop-off distance, reload time, damage output for both armor-piercing and high-explosive shells, turret speed, depression and elevation angles, and the power of its coax machine guns. So a lot to take in here. What I'm understanding here is that tanks will all feel and play differently, meaning each tank will thrive in a better environment, and that they want to get away from the heavy tank meta, making medium and light tanks an actual option to use here. And then on top of that, by including muzzle velocity, shell drop-off distance, and turret speed and angles, I mean, this could actually add a lot of depth to tank battles in Hell Let Loose. Granted, this is all writing, and I won't really know for sure what this means until I get hands-on, but the basic idea here is what everyone has been asking for a long time, but it will come down to how it is executed. Hell Let Loose tanking has always been this great in-between arcadey and hardcore, just like the infantry play. It always focused on comms, teamwork, positioning, and if they can build on that and actually add some depth to the combat, this will be a very cool update. But yeah, like I said, until we get hands-on, I won't know for sure what any of this means. It does look really promising though. And then there are some other tank changes here. Talking about tank traversal, they say we are also improving how tanks interact with their environment. This includes enhancements to hit detection, the impact on objects, and most notably, better traversal over trenches. These changes aim to create a smoother and more immersive experience when navigating the battlefield. Great, tanks have needed this for a while. They get stuck on freaking everything, not just trenches. They get stuck on hedgerows, they get stuck on little shovels, little rocks, everything. So this has been a long time coming for this game. Being a driver for a tank is not fun for the most part. It's more frustrating than it is rewarding. So if they can smooth out that experience, it will be a huge milestone. Then to add all this, they are now going to have condition-specific behavior, saying another major addition in this update is the introduction of condition-specific behavior for tanks. Tanks will now respond dynamically to the surface they are driving on, with performance changing depending on terrain types such as muddy ground, urban streets, or open fields. And they go on to say you'll drive faster on a road, slower off-road, so you'll have to make decisions of the best way to get around the map. And the on and off-road part's pretty clear, but I'm very curious to see how urban streets, open fields, and muddy ground all affect your tank. Will it make your tank turn slower? Will it make it move slower? I don't know. Are tanks now going to have to avoid certain areas of maps just because it'll absolutely wreck them? Very curious to see how that plays out. If it is very harsh and you do have tanks just not going to certain parts of the map and just avoiding actually getting involved, it could be pretty bad for gameplay. So hopefully it's only minor effects that take place and not anything too detrimental to discourage players from getting involved, because that could lead to some not great scenarios. And this will impact all tanks. Next up, we probably have something that is the most unexpected thing in here, called the Tinkerer loadout, which in huge parentheses they have work in progress title. But they say we are introducing a new interactive match mechanic that gives the armor class, specifically the crewman, access to a powerful new tool at higher levels, the Tinkerer loadout. To tinker means to augment an existing trait of a tank, allowing the crew to adapt or improve its performance based on the needs of the tank commander. This mechanic empowers armor squads to respond to match-specific challenges, the current match state, enemy behavior, gathered intel. The Tinkerer system supports a more dynamic and adaptive tank experience where tanks are no longer locked into a fixed stat loadout for the entire match. Instead, crews can make real-time adjustments, enabling more strategic decision-making and greater battlefield flexibility. So before we get into the 3 types they have listed here, this is super fascinating to me. And again, going back to the basics of this tank rework, this is going to come down to execution. I will say right off the bat, I do like how it says specifically the crewman here, because you know what that does? It discourages solo tanking. This brings something positive to actually running a full crew. Now, how this is implemented and how extreme these tinker effects and trade-offs actually are will determine if they're any good. You know, if one's better than the others, then everyone's just gonna run the one that's better than the others. And also it needs to be implemented in a way where it cannot be abused. In my mind, I see all 3 people exiting the tank, engine off, and it takes about a minute or 2 of people with wrenches or something on the tanks to really change this. Because if you can change them on the fly just by flipping a switch or something, you're gonna have people abusing this. It's just not gonna be fun. And it just doesn't make sense in my mind. But here are the 3 tuning upgrades, whatever you wanna call them, listed here. The first one is a mobility upgrade. And they say with this upgrade, you will remove the heavy loads or armor to improve mobility. That might be a typo, maybe it's heavy loads of armor, I don't know. This will increase acceleration and faster turning speed. However, in turn, the tank will have decreased deceleration along with reduced armor and health. So you're essentially going faster with less health. Next up, they have turret tuning. Tuning the electronics or hydraulic systems will allow for faster turret movement, including rotation speed and damage. By enacting this tinker, however, you will trade speed for slower reload times and potential jamming, as the increased speed is temporary. So I don't see anybody using this. I don't know why you would use this for faster turn movement. And you never want slower reload times in this game. When you're squaring up with tanks, it's whoever shoots first. And if you have a slow reload time, you kind of take away that advantage. And potential jamming sounds terrible. Is this going to be a random effect that you don't see coming? I don't like that at all. Let's say you see someone first and you have the advantage, and then all of a sudden the game decides to want to jam your gun and you die. That would piss me off. So I don't see a lot of people ever using this, and I don't see where having a turret turn faster ever puts you in a better situation going into it when you can just turn the tank. But it is what it is. We'll see. Lastly, they have armor bracing here. And they say if you are under heavy fire, you may feel that applying additional armor or reinforcing existing armor plating will be your best move. In this approach, you will gain increased armor on the front, side, or rear of the tank. However, you will give up on speed with a decrease in top speed as well as slower turning. So this will probably be the most popular of the tunes here. I mean, to get more health is generally an advantage for tanking hell loose. You're always squaring up in tanks. So if you can take 1 or 2 more shots and win a battle, why wouldn't you do this? I do find it fascinating how it says armor on the front, side, or rear of the tank, meaning you can determine where you want to put that armor. I'm guessing it would always be on the front here unless you were trying to go hold down or get behind some weird cover or something like that. But all I can see this for is people throwing this on a heavy tank and squaring up with another heavy tank, and they cancel each other out, because that is the most common scenario in hell loose tanking, is 2 heavy tanks, 2 medium tanks, whatever, just squaring up and looking to at each other. And next up, we have heavy tank limitations. And they say rather than balancing all tanks into a uniform meta to match the power of heavy tanks, we are embracing their role as the strongest but rarest and most impactful assets to the battlefield. In Update 18, heavy tanks are intended to be high impact, game-changing power plays rather than early game tools. To achieve this, we will be increasing the cooldown period for spawning a heavy tank, with the timer now beginning only after the vehicle has been destroyed rather than when it is first deployed. In addition, the number of heavy tanks available in a match will be capped at 2 active units at any given time. They do say we will closely monitor community feedback after release to determine whether this limit should remain in place or be adjusted in future updates. So this is very vague here and left me very, very confused. There's a few ways this can go. One, this only allows you to spawn 1 of each heavy at a time, being that the cooldown is now after death. So you spawn 1 tiger in, you have to wait until that tiger dies, but you can potentially spawn a panther in, and those will be your 2 active heavies. But this could also go a different way. Maybe you can spawn 2 heavy tanks total, whether that be 2 tigers, 2 panthers, and now there's a whole category cooldown for the tank. But with text saying that there's now a cooldown only after a vehicle is destroyed rather than no cooldown after it's first deployed, that gets a little confusing there. So this is a little confusing me. I asked for clarification. I haven't heard back yet, so I can't tell you exactly what this means. So we'll have to find out about this on the PT over the weekend because I'm very curious here. My big concern though is that this could make the heavy tank meta actually worse for a couple of reasons. One, let's just put a hypothetical scenario in there. Let's say I'm on a team running a heavy tank and your team has 2 dipshit crews in their heavy tanks. If I blow them up, your team is now fucked because you're not getting a heavy tank for a long time, especially 2 of them. I'm going to have free reign on our team because mediums and light tanks, I don't care what anyone says. I can count the time on my hands over the years how many times those tanks have killed me while I've been in the heavy tank. And that's just not me. That's a lot of really good players in this game. That's why they run heavy tanks. The best counter for a heavy tank has always been another heavy tank. So by essentially limiting a team's heavy tanks, you're buffing the other team's heavy tanks. So this could actually skew the heavy meta even worse if they're not careful here. And honestly, I think that's the way this will go. If you've ever been in the match and you've seen how it's gone when one team is running heavy tanks and the other team is not, it's pretty awful for the team that's not. This will also kind of encourage some negative gameplay because heavy tanks will now be super cautious. They're just going to stay back, farm infantry, knowing there's a longer cooldown and limit. They don't want to lose that tank. And either way, someone's going to get punished here. New players might not ever get a chance to try these tanks because the commander will want specific crews in them that are experienced. And it could go the other way around where there's only inexperienced crews getting the heavy tanks because the commander is just giving them away. And you're going to see them die over and over again. Your team's going to be at a major disadvantage. So no matter what, as this is stated here, if it goes in as I think it's going to be implemented, I think this is going to make the meta worse. I think this is going to cause a lot of unbalancing, a lot of shitty gameplay. So how do you solve this? You put weak spots on the front of heavy tanks. I know, people will be like, it's not realistic, blah, blah, blah. I don't care, I just want a fun game. And the problem with heavy tanks is they've always been miles and miles and miles better than the other tanks. It was never the number of them. And limiting them doesn't really bring that distance of medium tanks and heavy tanks difference close enough, I should say. It brings them closer, but it doesn't bring close enough to really balance them. You have to nerf the heavy tanks more. You have to put weak spots on the front of them. I go back to the days of bag shots and cupola shots, and I think how fun those skill shots were. I'd love to see something return on the front of heavy tanks, whether it be a driver port, MG port, that medium tanks can take a chance and shoot at to try and get that kill. The limitation doesn't get away from the fact that you still have to have a heavy tank in the fight. You should want a heavy tank because it's better and scary, but you shouldn't have to have a heavy tank. And until these tanks aren't invincible on the front from mediums, it just won't be that way, unfortunately. Could be wrong here. This could test, and I'm wrong and the limitation fixes all that, but after playing this game for years and seeing how predictable Hell Let Loose tanking is, I can feel like I see where this is going, and unfortunately I think it's going to need to be tweaked. But let's move on to the last topic here. Finally, we have Immersion Improvements. And they say alongside numerous mechanical changes and updates, we are exploring ways to enhance immersion as part of the armor rework. As a deliverable for update 18, we aim to update tank audio dynamically based on various factors, including the map currently being played. This will create a more immersive experience and requires close collaboration with the audio team. Keep your ears open when the update launches later in the year. So I hope this means we're getting better shell ricochets, better sounds of the cannon firing, better sounds of MGs ricocheting off your tank. Dial that shit up to 11, give me PTSD, I don't care, let's make it fun. And that is all there is for the armor rework here. There are some other topics in the dev brief talking about the support role being able to pick up supplies, a new SPA vehicle incoming. So definitely go check it out, definitely read it. I just wanted this video to specifically be about the tank rework because that is the main focus of this dev brief and what a lot of people watch this channel for. That said, a lot of cool stuff here, a lot of concerns. It's going to take a lot of testing to make sure this works. Hopefully we get some people in the PTE to test this out because that's the only way we're going to know for sure. We can get in there with a few people and have 2 tanks shoot at each other, but that will only get you so far. A lot of this stuff seems like it needs to be tested in a very real match to see what it can be done. So I plan on testing all this stuff this weekend to get better knowledge of it and see what it all means. How are you guys feeling about this? Any concerns, liking it, think it all sounds great? Please let me know down in the comments. This is one of those things where it's like I need to pass as much information to Team 17 and Expression as I can. This needs to be done correctly. We can't have this go wrong here. And they know that. I'm sure they're going to be reading these comments too. So please let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everything you do. I'll see you dudes on the front line.